Hope you do. Woo. I'll think of you. Darling, I love you. Baby, and you alone were meant for me. Is it alright? Will you give your loving heart to me?
Welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today we're talking about the Atomic Bent 120. Now, full disclosure, I bought these skis myself. I went out and spent my own money. I may decide to sell them to recoup some of that, but I bought these. Atomic did not supply them. I don't know, I just kind of got sick of waiting around for Atomic. And I was curious about the skis. I provided my own bindings on them. I paid for the mounting fee, the whole kit and caboodle. I paid full price out of pocket. My demo center doesn't rent them, so I don't know. I don't want to wait around. Atomic was kind of interested, and it seemed like they were sitting on their hands a little bit, so I know that you guys want to know about the ski. I want to know about the ski. If you want to continue to see videos like this, please use the affiliate links down below if this helps you with your purchase with this ski or any other ski. Even if you click on a link and go buy a different ski on the same website, it still helps me. So thank you to you guys for using those affiliate links in the past, allowing me to purchase these and review skis whether or not the company wants me to review it. Also, if you're watching this video, I turned 35 today. I was lucky enough to have a big storm come through and do a little birthday skiing, so to speak. Now, I skied these in a 192 length. These are 120 millimeters width underfoot, which means that they have a 20 meter turn radius. The weight, I believe, is somewhere north of 1,800 grams. You can see very aggressive tail splay, equally aggressive but more gradual tip splay, and a very, very healthy amount of camber. Look at that. Now, these have a poplar wood core with Atomic's Horizon Tech. It's hard to see in the light and this color doesn't show it very well, but basically it's kind of got rounded off tips here and on the sides to make it more like a boat hull. It's supposed to allow for extra flotation, and you don't notice it as much with a big ski like this, right? Because it already floats well, but on thinner skis like the Atomic Maverick, I do feel like the Horizon Tech is something you actually feel and actually does help a lot with powder skiing. These are designed by Chris Benchutler. He not only designs these with Atomic, but also he's an independent artist that actually designs the top sheets. One thing that's cool, if you guys are interested in it, you can actually go and like buy some of his art directly from him. So if you want to support an independent artist like that, feel free. As always, I'm not paid by Atomic or any other ski brand, so I can plug Chris as an independent artist. Maybe go check out his work. It's pretty cool, actually. There have been some iterations of the Bent that I'm not crazy about the art, but I will say I think this 2025 season, it has kind of peaked. The 2026, I think, looks pretty good in some colors. I don't know. It just depends. But as always, top sheets don't really matter much. Let's talk about how the skis actually felt, because that's what's important. Now, I chose to ski these in a 192, and I will say I'm happy with that. I just feel like when you're trying to get that much float, going up in a size felt really good to me. I don't know that I could have skied that length 2 years ago, but for me it felt awesome, and I really did feel like it benefited from the extra length. First, I want to talk about mounting point. I tested it at 3 different mounting points, and then we'll go do the review based off of my favorite mounting point. So first off, we had the baseline mounting point. That was like an 8.5. For me, and where I ski at Bogus Basin, you don't always have line of sight, or you get into the bushes and bramble. I don't know, it sacrifices maneuverability for float, and these skis are long enough and big enough that I didn't really feel like the trade-off was worth it, but it was still better than baseline at an 8.8. But now that we covered that, let's talk about how I feel about these skis 1 click back or half a centimeter back, because I really, as you can tell by the score, love these skis. Let's talk first impressions, because these skis make a big first impression. The first impression with these was, I kind of get it now. I've always wondered like who owns these, and people who daily drive this where this is your only ski, I think you are nuts still. But for me, the biggest thing I found with these is like, this is the king of first tracks. If you are the first person coming through the snow, these things are so wide, so long in this case, that I have had zero issues tracking through the snow. It's so nice to be able to just ski and not worry about leaning back. Is my tip gonna clear? Am I gonna submarine? The ski makes a lot of sacrifices to get there, but not worrying about submarining and going down into the snow is a huge luxury. And it really allows you to ski the powder so much more aggressively, set up lines I wasn't able to do before, carry momentum I wasn't able to carry before. I mean, some of that is my skiing, and I don't feel like 2 years ago I should have been on the ski. A lot of it is just building out my own abilities to kind of match that, and we'll talk about that more. But my first impression was just like, wow. If you've got first tracks, this is the best ski that I felt for that. It is the king of first tracks. So that was my first impression. I enjoyed these obviously a lot, but there's more details, so let's just jump into it. Let's talk about the good and everything I liked, and then we'll talk about some of the downsides, because every ski has downsides and this is no exception. For positives, honestly, this is the most reliable powder ski I've ever had. A lot of skis I've had in the past, whether it be like the old Rossignol B3 Bandit, I think I had that in a 193. That ski was big, but it also took so much legwork to get it around that it really was pretty much unusable. Similar story for the QST Blank. I like the QST Blank, but it is so much work to get them to turn, and they are really, really hard on your hips. At least they were for me. Like, they were uncomfortable after 2 or 3 hours. And in my opinion, the QST Blank sacrifices a lot of things I really like from the QST 106 with the turn shape and whatnot. But for most skis this big, this is the first one where I felt like it does a good balance of being reliable, being stable through the powder, but also it could be this mounting point, it could be that they're a little bit lighter, but I'm still able to like make my quick hop turns and not miss the line completely. And on top of that, they also are light enough that they can float well, but they're not so light that you can't carry your momentum, where it's like an atomic backland where it's just so light. It's in, you know, a backcountry ski where it really can't carry momentum through the powder, or a Headcore 105 where it's really fun, but it's a lighter ski, and if you get any heavier snow, you get kind of held back. This ski isn't like that at all. It manages to be maneuverable, but also sendy and also stable through the powder. And that's the other thing I like about this ski. It manages to do a good job actually with some of the heavier snow. I mean, I don't know that I'd want it on like a spring skiing day, but when I was skiing the powder and it got a little bit warmer on the bottom part of the run, I wasn't as worried about submarining or the tips going and getting stuck. It's a big enough ski that it actually manages to kind of get through it evenly. It can still be difficult to turn, but it's much more manageable than skis that are a similar width. Now, I skied on these for the past 4 days straight. I will say that I wasn't planning on doing that. We'd get some snow and I'd be like, oh, I don't think that's enough for the ski. But we kept getting surprise snow, and it kept being like, well, let's say it's 5 to 7 inches. Well, what if it's 7 inches? I'm gonna wish I had the Bent 120. It's kind of a funny skiing that way of like, I just kept packing in my car and kept being like, well, let's try it out. So I skied these every day this week straight, and I love them. I loved having them. I loved being on them. I felt like I was taking lines I could have never taken before. I was skiing in ways I couldn't have done on other skis. These are a blast. It's a lot of ski, but all in all, I was thrilled by the design and just happy to be on them. Now, the first downside should be pretty obvious for a ski this width, and I honestly was not expecting it, but like turn shape on groomed runs is pretty much non-existent. You can kind of massage and lightly feather a big open radius turn, but you know, you're not buying this for a groomer day. That is a big downside though. If there's no powder, if you're at all gonna even like look at a groomed run, you're probably better off with a different ski. But, you know, the off-trail performance is the best, so you're not hedging your bet at all. It's not like a Bent 100 where, oh, maybe I'm gonna do some groomed runs, maybe I'm gonna do a little bit of this and that. It's like, no, you've given up, you're going straight for powder, you're going only off-trail. Not a big deal, and I'm fine with that sacrifice, but just so you're aware, don't buy this as a daily driver. If you buy a Bent 120, you are committed to off-trail at that point. The other downside or area where this ski struggles is if you get to the mountain too late. Like, let's say that everything is just skied off. You're gonna be on like big choppy runs and you're just kind of going through everyone's cross tracks and you can't find any smooth unexposed snow. Well, you're gonna have a bad time because this ski is not very It's maneuverable for its width, but you got to kind of have momentum and open lines. You can't just like kind of scutter your way in between other people skiing. You're going to feel the chop and, you know, you're going to struggle a little bit more. Or if you're only going in glades in the trees, you can do it, but it is a lot of ski to turn around. Speaking of being a lot of ski, the last downside I would point out as being pretty glaring is this is a lot of ski on your legs. I talked about the DPS Kaizen 112, where those skis feel very ergonomic and very forgiving on your legs. This ski is pretty good for that width. You're making quick turns and it lends itself well to having extra width and extra length, but it is a lot on your legs. If the snow's heavy, if you're going on harder terrain like the trees for long enough, you will feel this on your knees, I felt it specifically on my hamstrings a lot. The nice part is that if you're on a big powder day, I think it's a little less work on your legs just because I didn't have to lean back at all to float. So I didn't get like the upper above my knee kind of tension, and my hamstrings weren't tired from like leaning back all day. But I will say that as soon as I had to like do hop turns on kind of a rougher weather day, it is a lot. I mean, I feel like I started to figure out how to ski them in a way that wasn't taxing, and it's not nearly as bad as the QST blank. But just so you know, like if you're skiing on these for 5-6 hours and you don't have fresh powder, it's kind of a weird thing, right? Like if you have a lot of snow, it's easier on your legs than most other skis because you're not fighting to stay up. But if you kind of have like a marginal amount of powder and you are kind of having to hop in between the glades, in those areas you will feel it more. I think you have to be pretty strong to make sure that you are really powering through the turns and skiing these correctly. It's not terrible, but I don't know. I definitely, after the third day, I started to feel it. And then last night I kind of did an ice bath and got my legs back to normal and felt good. And the more I skied on them, the more I was kind of able to optimize. But just so you know, that is a drawback. I wouldn't suggest this to my dad who's in his 70s. You know, I just think that would be a lot. But if you're fairly strong and athletic, then go for it. But just, you know, be mindful, right? If you have a bad knee, then maybe keep that in mind and just save these for like the handful of days where the powder's really deep. You know, with any ski, I want you guys to know what they're actually useful for and when they're optimal. So what would I give this ski for a score? I mean, these retail for $850, but you can typically see them on sale prices for like $400 or $500. I guess that's kind of an anomaly. I do think that this is a good value. I mean, they're half the price of a DPS ski. The performance is really there. You know, as a designated powder ski, the Bent 120 is just like unbelievably fun. It's stable. It doesn't submarine on you at all. It's maneuverable much more than most skis this width, like that kind of more center mounted type ski where you've got the twin tips. It is very maneuverable. It's stable on open lines and heavier snow than most other skis that I've had for powder skis. For me, like 2 years ago, I wasn't ready for the ski, but once you're ready for the ski and you're gonna take aggressive powder lines, I can't think of a better ski for that. And once you've taken a ski like this in deep snow, it's hard to go back. I had a tremendous time on these. I love them a lot. I will say though, just like if you're not going to be aggressive on powder lines, if you're kind of new to powder or a little bit more hesitant, I would hold off on getting these. I would maybe go with like a Bent 110 or a DPS or something like that. If you're ready for more aggressive powder skiing and you're fairly athletic and strong in your skiing, the performance, the maneuverability mixed with just not worrying all the time whether or not you're going to submarine or if you need to lean back is a huge luxury. And I honestly will probably end up keeping these because I like them that much. I don't know how many days that these will be the best option. You know what I mean? Like when you get a ski this wide, depending on where you live, I'll probably only get 10 days a year on these, so maybe I will sell them, but I will have a hard time going back because I didn't have to fight them at all to stay on top, and they were really, really fun for aggressive lines, especially in this 192 length. So I guess I kind of spoiled in the beginning, but I'm gonna give these a 9.2 out of 10. I think that if you're an aggressive powder skier, this is a phenomenal option. It blends the width with the maneuverability really well. It's stable at high speeds. It was even good in some of the wetter snow down low. Usually I have to like kind of get out of the woods when it comes to the bottom part of the elevation because it starts to get wet and heavy. These had no problem with that. I was so impressed by these. The Horizon Tech seems to really complement this shape well. Honestly, and like I don't know if anyone's talked about this. I'm sure someone's talked about this on like a ski podcast with Chris Bencheller. This feels like the original design. Maybe the Bent 110 is the original design, but this doesn't feel like a wind out Bent 110. This feels very distinct. It's really powerful through the turns. It's so much fun. It's a lot of ski, so like just be mindful of that. If you're looking for something a little more maneuverable and a little easier on your legs, probably go with the DPS Kaizen 112. But also, these are half the price of those, so I don't know. I will say these were very forgiving. I enjoyed them a ton more than the QST blank. The value on it probably tips over from a 9 to a 9.2. But that's my honest opinion. Like I said, I went out and spent my own money to give you guys this review. So if you are going to buy these or any other skis, please consider using the affiliate link. You can also check out my review of the Bent 110. I think that might be helpful. Maybe I'll see if I can get a pair of Bent 110s and do a comparison. Like I said, this was a great ski for me, and I really had a blast on these today, but I do think for the general population of anyone who's, you know, even advanced or below or intermediate, or however you want to categorize it, I do think that this probably is overkill compared to some of the other skis out there, even like the Bent 110. But if you're ready for a ski that isn't going to let you submarine, I did have a ton of fun on this, and I feel like the shape really lends itself well to the wider widths. The maneuverability you get from the Bent 110 when it's scaled into the Bent 120 is just a tremendous ski. I was ready to like really hate these. I don't know why I spent my own money on them if I thought I was going to hate them. Just for the sake of science, I guess. But I was very, very surprised on how much I enjoyed these, how aggressive I could take my lines, and how well these really supported me when I was getting more and more aggressive with my powder skiing. This was a tremendous experience. But I think just be realistic. Like, are you actually going to be really aggressive on the powder ski? Or are you someone like me where like even a year ago I was just like, oh, I kind of like wandering over here, and oh, I like wandering over there. Without momentum, you're not seeing a lot of the benefit here. And I'm sure like I'm still nowhere near people who are really, really good at this stuff, but I have found that like I'm finally at a level where I can appreciate these a little bit. So anyway, that's the end of the video. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing. If this helped you with your purchase of this ski or any other ski, please use my links down below. That's a free way of supporting the channel that doesn't cost you anything extra, and it is like 60% of my revenue because I take no money from any brand, and that helps keep me kind of independent. You can also become a member if you want to support the channel directly. We have a bunch of perks for that. You usually get to see these videos a little bit early. But more than anything, just thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. It means a ton to me, and it's honestly giving me a ton of opportunities to review more skis and have access to skis I normally wouldn't have. So thank you for taking time out of your day. It means a ton to me. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.